and welcome to the Wow Embossing channel. Today I'm going to be creating a cute Christmas shaker card, and while we're doing that I'll also be showing you a fun way to layer up your embossing powders for a glittery Christmas look. So I'm going to be using the Clear Sparkle and the Opaque Bright White Superfine embossing powders. I'm also going to be using Earth Sparkle's Biodegradable glitter from Wow, and then I've got this Mod Asterisk stencil from scrapbook.com and this Sunny Lane Homes 1 die set from scrapbook.com. So I'm going to bring in my scrap paper because the first thing we're going to do is just show you that layering technique. So I've got this piece of blue cardstock and it measures just under 3.5 by 5 inches, and I would say it's probably about a 1/16 of an inch under, and that is so that when we come to make the shaker there's room to fold the acetate around the side without going over the sides of the card blend. So I'm going to position that on some scrap paper, and then I'm going to pop over our stencil, and then for this technique I like to add a little bit of embossing pad refill. You can take this bit off the top, and then I'm just going to pour out a little bit on to my acrylic block. You don't need too much. And then I'm just going to use one of these kind of smoothie tools for this technique. So I'm just going to press that through the stencil. And you really don't need much of this embossing ink at all. I've probably poured out too much, and you could see I didn't put that much on. But you don't need to go back and add more to your sponge very often. It kind of seems to sink into your sponge a little bit and go a long way. And in some ways less is more, because if you have too much of the ink on your sponge, then it kind of like overflows a bit and seeps under the stencil, so you don't get a nice defined shape. So you don't want to overload it too much. So I'm bringing in another piece of paper, and I'm just going to heat emboss this with white embossing powder. And then we can heat that up. So then I want to layer up the embossing powder. So I'm going to place this over again, and I'm just going to line it up with the snowflakes that we've already heat embossed. And then I'm going to pop on another layer of the embossing ink. And then I'm going to pour over the Clear Sparkle. So now you can see we've got this gorgeous bright white sparkly effect to our stenciled snowflakes, which I really like. So this will go onto our card front at the top, but at the bottom I want to create some snowbanks. So I've got a 2.5 by 5 inch piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to cut some snowbanks into the top of this. I don't really want to go below this line, so I'm just making sure that I start at the correct point. So I've got one snowbank that goes like that, and then I've got a 1.5 by 5 inch piece that I'm just going to cut another bank into, and then I can layer that over the top. So then, while I've got my embossing powders out, I'm going to make these nice and glittery to match the background. Obviously, because these are white already, we obviously don't need to do the first step of the white embossing powder. We're just going to do the glitter embossing powder. And normally I would just swipe my ink pad along these. If you watch my channel a lot, you've probably seen me do it a lot. Just go along like that to make sure it's covered. But because I put a bit too much of this ink out earlier, I'm actually just going to cover it with the ink that I squeezed onto this. I don't like to waste if I can help it. So let's cover those with the Clear Sparkle. Obviously, if we'd just gone on with the Clear Sparkle on the snowflakes without the white embossing underneath, then it would have just been sparkly blue snowflakes, because this is a translucent embossing powder. So you would have just got the glitter on top of the blue, which is why we needed to do the layering of the embossing powders on the snowflakes. Then we've got these pretty glittery snowflakes. Okay, so now let's create the shaker element of our cards. So we've got a 6" by 4.5" piece of acetate. I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch on each side. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold along all those score lines. And then I'm going to cut across the corner. So I'm cutting diagonally and I'm going through where those score lines meet. And that's so that it'll fold round nicely. So then I can bring this in. So I'm going to put the good side down into here. And then I'm going to use strong double-sided tape. And I'm going to add that along here. And you want to add it as close to the fold as possible. And then you leave the one side open for now while we just fill it with our glitter. And I was going to use this flipper glitter. Actually, I've had a change of heart and I'm going to use the Lobster instead. I'm going to mix the Lobster with the cotton candy sparkles to get a kind of nice mix. And then once you've got everything you want in there, then you can seal it the other side. And obviously, if you don't want to make the shaker element, this will still look really nice without the shaker part. You can just add this bit to the background and add these on top without doing the shaker and it'll still be a really nice card. So now I'm going to grab some more double-sided tape and I'm going to add the shaker element to my card. So we'll add that to the top of the card. And then we're going to add these on, and I'm going to add some glue to this top bit, but I'm going to add foam pad to the other because you can see where we've got our shaker bit. It's quite a bit higher than the actual card itself. So I've got some foam tape that isn't too thick that I think will do the job nicely. And then I'll add some more foam tape behind this bit, a bit of extra dimension. Then it'll sit like that and you can just see the glitter there, which is nice because then you know it's a shaker card and then you can kind of shake it about and make it look really pretty. And now the pink in the glitter will probably make more sense because we're going to have a pink house. So I've cut the background piece in gold so that it shines through and looks kind of like lit up windows. And then I've cut this piece in a really pale pink. And then I've backed these pieces with sticky back plastic before I cut them out so that they can go on really nicely. And we've got the pink one to go over there. So I'm going to add this along here. So there's our cute little house ready to go on our card. You could do a whole row of houses. I've chosen to do one because I want to be able to see all the shaker elements in the background. Now I'm going to use this Let It Snow sentiment from the Alex Siberia Designs Christmas Sentiment set. So I'm going to heat emboss that using white embossing powder onto this blue cardstock. So I'm going to use that opaque bright white Superfine that we used earlier. And then I've used this modern oval die, which is from this modern oval set from Spellbinders, which honestly is one of the most useful sets that I own. And it just makes it into a nice label to then go on the bottom of the card. So I'm going to glue that on because there's already quite a lot of height at the bottom. And I'm going to pop the house up. Then we've got this cool card with the pink shaker in the background and that shiny snow as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you liked today's card. If you did, I'd appreciate clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when there's a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and you can also find a link there to the blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.